for your losses.
Oh my,
Okay, I'm gonna talk about The Meg, because not a lot of people talk about The Meg. I'm gonna talk about it now. I'm gonna try and do it in under 5 minutes. Okay, so The Meg is this film, right? It's this Chinese Jaws film, but it also kind of reveals some really weird Chinese geopolitics that not a lot of people are kind of talking about. So let's get this out of the way. The Meg is this film that came out in 2018. It's got Jason Statham, Li Bingbing, and it's got Dwight Schrute.
I know everything about film. I've seen over 240 of them.
Anyhow, so here's how it all works out. So, Dwight Schrute is essentially trying to find element Ezo or whatever in the bottom of the ocean. But to do that, they have to penetrate the bottom of the ocean floor.
Dive control, we are a go for insertion.
The captain of the sub is Jason Statham's ex-wife. They get stuck, and then they're just like, okay, we have to find somebody to, like, save them. They find Jason Statham. Now, here's the first clue. They find him in Thailand, and Thailand is shown like this, instead of this, or this. And I'm not saying, you know, you can't show, like, Southeast Asia like that, but it is kind of weird that the only frame of reference that we have is Southeast Asia as this dirty, poor place on the Mekong. It's kind of like that scene from Constantine, right? In 2005, starring Keanu Reeves and Shia LaBeouf from the critically acclaimed movie Holes. In the beginning, they show Mexico as this sand-ridden Mad Max dirty place that's completely decrepit. It's kind of like that. So it really reveals the perspective of the people that this film is supposed to be meant towards. Anyhow, Jason Statham's like, you can't bring me back. Nothing's gonna bring me back. And after like one beer, he just capitulates and goes to help them out.
Please.
It's absolutely pathetic. So he goes into the sub, right? Jason Statham's like, what are you doing here? Where are your parents? And then she tells him,
Dad was a Pilates instructor in Taipei. Mom says she needs more time because she was married to an a-hole.
the only Taiwanese character in the film isn't actually in the film. He's just this asshole who is the impetus for them to be divorced. Winston Chow, my dude, come on. They're dissing your country, fam. Are you serious? So Jason Statham goes down to the ocean floor, tries to save them, but it turns out that there's an issue that happens, and then the person who sacrifices himself to save the rest of them is the Japanese guy. Now here's the thing, the Japanese guy, he is depicted as like this fat, bespectacled motherfucker, but he's still the hero, right? This kind of reflects the cooling relations of China and Japan, because relations were really kind of starting to cool between China and Japan for like the first time in quite a long time, but they're still not fixed. And so as a result, when Hero dies, it's kind of a nod. Not all of them are rape of Nanking apologists, but nevertheless, the Japanese guys gotta go. They save the sub, and then we find out that in doing so, some sharks come up, and they're like these big honking megalodon sharks through like this heat highway or whatever. Who gives a shit? They capture the shark, and then a bigger shark comes up, and they're like, oh my god, there's another bigger shark. So this bigger shark goes to Hainan, which is like Chinese Hawaii, but I've never been to Hawaii. So I'm just gonna trust Google because that's what it told me, and I'm gonna, yeah, let's go with that. It goes to Sanya Bay, and at Sanya Bay, one of the first sequences we see is essentially Little Emperor Syndrome. You know, it's got this fat kid who's just completely spoiled. Rest of the entire environment around her, which shows China's fast industrialization. So they go to Sanya Beach. The heroes are trying to stop the shark, but what happens is that they all of a sudden get sidetracked and everybody gets put into danger. Why? Well, the reason is because journalists are flying in the helicopters around them and recklessly crash into each other, and then that hits the ship. So essentially, the scene here is that journalists made the situation worse, which is actually kinda damning when you consider that the CCP actually has some really negative relations with journalists. So after they stop the shark, it turns out that Jason Statham and Li Bingbing and this little girl, they're like, hey, we can now be a happy family and thus uphold heteronormativity, whatever. You know, she just can't be a working woman. Like, what's going on here? A lot of you might be thinking, oh, but Joe, you're just like overthinking this, my dude. No, alright? Let me tell you why. Now, this movie is produced partly by Lorenzo di Bonaventure, who also produced the Transformers series, which is actually a really big film in regards to the Chinese market.
Okay, we're gonna make it because, boy, the French love this or the Chinese love this. It's like everybody values those certain values.
So it's very clearly meant for a Chinese audience and has a lot of really particular Chinese reflections. Additionally, the book, which was originally published in 1996, mentions China once, and that is in passing, because the book actually perceives Japan as being the site of where a lot of these events occur. And the reason is because at that time, Japan was perceived in which the Pacific's geopolitics revolve around. All of a sudden, now China is the space in which the Pacific's geopolitics revolve around. You can see it in the book, right? There's a lot more Japanese characters, and there's a lot more Japanese references, up to and including a goddamn ship called the Tsunami. Like, what is... Anyhow, if you like the Meg, that's fine too. I don't care. You shouldn't care. But I do want to mention that there is a little bit more under the surface, that it's this odd sort of collection of geopolitical sentiments that just happen to be caked under this goofy layer of this goober shark movie. And yeah, that's pretty much it.